My name is Edie Weiss, and I'm a partner in Radke Films, Steam Films, OPC Films, Soft Citizen, Common Good, Free Society, and Vapor Music, and finally in Vancouver Film Group. This is a great opportunity for me to begin to share the Canadian story of what's going on through COVID-19 and what our plans are for Canada in the next number of months.
Hi, my name's Tony DiMarco. I work for Edie at Radke Films as one of the executive producers. I'm in charge of all service production. I'm also the managing partner of Free Society, our tabletop division, where we have a complete studio setup and we handle high-end premium motion control, primarily tabletop production. I also sit on the board of directors for CPAT, which is the Commercial Production Association of Toronto. I'm also heading up the Health and Safety Committee for COVID and our response for COVID and production in Toronto.
How are you guys doing personally with all this? Edie, you're out in the wilderness. You've been at the cottage a couple hours outside of Toronto?
Yeah, it's been 54 days now. And I couldn't imagine I would be in the situation I'm in right now. But there's been a lot of learning for me in this process. One of the best learnings for me was someone that said to me at a Women Presidents organization once, "A fool with a plan is better than a genius with no plan." And that has resonated with me during this time. And I stopped being in denial. I took upon myself the idea that planning and figuring out a strategy going forward for the next number of months was critical to keeping the partnerships I had alive and well and keeping all the companies going. So that for me was a great sort of aha moment for me.
And Tony, where have you been for the past 54 plus days?
I'm heading up the Brampton office of Radke and Free Society, which is a suburb of Toronto. So just at home with my family.
The famous Brampton office.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about where, as before we get into production specifically, where's Canada today as far as level of quarantine?
Vancouver and Montreal seem to be relaxing a little bit closer or a little bit faster actually than most of the rest of the country. Here in Toronto, we are under a stay-at-home order until currently June 2nd. We do expect that the first phase of relaxing will happen at that point.
Edie, when are you going to come back to town?
We're hoping actually our office is going to open in about 10 days from now. So I fully expect to be back in the office with all sorts of protocols in place, thanks to Tony putting together, safety measures for all of us to come back to work. We're starting to see a lot of producers calling us now, knowing that, early July is the time that we're going to begin to start shooting again. But a tremendous amount of planning is going into the next number of weeks. And we've been fortunate enough to do some shoots right now by remote.
We'll get back to that in a minute, but let's go back to middle of March. I would imagine with 8 companies, you guys were in middle of a bunch of stuff. And tell me how those things got resolved.
We had a handful of local projects underway, and we had 2 service projects from the US underway. Most production companies from the States, from across all of the brands that are Radke Group, packed up pretty quickly and left, either to postpone or cancel. We did have a few jobs shoot into the following week just to resolve and come to a conclusion.
I think it's been a while for us to sort of figure out, what's the most important value system that we carry? How do we keep people safe? How do we also execute at the level and quality that people are accustomed to with us? Because we've always been considered an A-level production company and an A-level production service company. And how to make sure that we manage expectations and not disappoint. So I think that's sort of been the overriding theme. The town hall meeting we did was really phenomenal because we invited 140 agency producers in Canada to come and listen to what was going on in the current environment. And also they have a sense now that as soon as something turns around, we can easily just get them back on the phone tomorrow and do another town hall.
Tell me how you've been doing these projects. What kind of solutions have you been using?
I would say right off the bat, as things were coming to an end in mid-March, we were on production at Free Society, our tabletop studio, with an agency from Chicago. We had on the ground, we had creatives, the account director and the producer, but we had a creative director in Romania, the remainder of the agency folks in Chicago, and we had clients in both New York and Seattle. So we pivoted with QTake in combination with WebEx to allow everyone into a collaborative space. It actually was very effective because people were on the ground with us, and both the producer on the agency side and the account director were able to manage the client expectations via the WebEx room and collaborate in the studio with our director. QTake has a great feature in it. It allows you to spit out a link to any Mac device or iOS device, allowing people to view from home. We took that link and included it as the presentation into a WebEx for the client to participate in virtual real time, providing feedback, and our shoot ended bang on schedule. We've been working with an agency locally to shoot a live event at 8 homes over 4 days with 3 iPhones per house. We used a combination of QTake and a WebEx room, as well as a program called TeamViewer. So we used that to stream 2 phones into the WebEx environment, as well as the QTake, so that everyone could view at home.
So tell me how the director is communicating with the crew separate from how the agency is communicating with the production company, and who's talking to the talent. What's happening with that? How is that all being managed? Because I think that's the secret sauce that people want to know.
So the director was actually using his earbuds, talking directly to the people operating the cameras, which were family members.
From his own home?
Correct, from his own home. Everyone was remote from their own homes.
Okay.
So the agency, the client didn't participate. The agency logged into a Zoom room with our producer and our director. Okay. And we shot a live event over about 15 minutes, and then got feedback from everybody in the Zoom room, and then the director would convey those notes to the people on the ground. It started originally with us determining the technology that was needed, assembling that at the producer's home, shipping that, and then having all of that equipment sit in quarantine at the technician's house. They loaded all of the apps on the phone. Then we shipped that in a curbside drop-off manner to the homes with instructions, made sure everything was wiped down and sanitized. Those sat in quarantine for 3 days at the people's homes. Then using the instructions and a technical setup day, we ran through everything in the homes to make sure that everyone was comfortable using the technology. And then we went straight into production.
You make it sound really easy. I got to say, Tony, that's a heck of a job of reverse engineering. What do you think we're going to have to do as an industry to make sure that these things stay controlled, stay to a reasonable schedule?
Typically, I would think before COVID, we're being asked to shoot about 1.5 days worth of footage in a day. And I don't think that that's possible anymore. Setting a protocol with the agency and the client on how communication is going to work and sticking to it is going to be the most important factor in all of this, and making sure that we can accomplish everything in the given timetable. Hopefully this doesn't become the new norm post-COVID, because I think we need to have people come back and be more collaborative on this on set and help drive the days and be able to accomplish more. But now, more than ever, we have to be cognizant of how much we can actually accomplish in a day and stick to a plan.
I think that reverse engineering probably has to extend to the way we as agencies and marketers supervise the filming of our content. Without a commitment from marketers and creatives to a process, it's going to get very ugly.
The more people viewing from home, the more opinions that are going to come in and potentially slow us down. If someone's sitting in an office and they say to their friend, hey, look at this, what do you think? Now we're 10, 15 minutes behind.
In your experience of jobs you've done remotely so far, does it take a lot longer to do what we would normally do?
In the remote sense, it does. And I also think when we get back to actually physically shooting with crews on the ground, things will slow down even further just with the protocols that will have to be in place. I do expect a 20 to 25% loss of productivity off the top as we all figure out the new normal. Crews will be overworked, stressed out, and in order to make sure that everyone is on top of their game and making sure that everyone's healthy and safe and working productively, I think shorter days should be the new normal. I don't think 14-hour days should be observed or scheduled at this time. We're not going to have the options on set. We're not going to have the people to bring the options on set. We're not going to have the people to drive the trucks with 3 extra couches so that we'll have have those choices. Everything will definitely need to be nailed down. In the last decade, we've kind of lost a week out of our schedules. That might have to come back.
What you're talking about, Bob, is also the kind of director that's going to succeed in this current environment for the next 6 to 8 months. The directors that are agile, the directors that are flexible, the directors that have had some experience working in a more docu-style, small crew, flexibility. Those are the directors that likely are going to be the ones that are going to be able to be busy during this period of time and adapt, test, and learn.
Coping and patience will be two of those major skills, because not only will he have to adapt his own style in the way he accomplishes things, but the way he communicates with his clients will be really critical to the success of any project and obviously long-term success of his career.
The directors that are going to be able to stay busy will have to work within a very tight budget and at the same time probably work harder than they've ever worked to prepare for what's going to be needed on every shot.
Now more than ever, it's important for agencies to engage their production partners early in the process and often throughout the process in order to help guide them to overcome all of the obstacles that are ahead.
What happens with insurance and liability for crew and actors, for your people? Because I don't think anyone's covered for COVID-19.
Insurers are aware of potential losses, and they're writing that out of the contract. So there is no coverage for COVID currently.
How are people going to work without coverage? It's a legitimate threat. It's probably hard to prove that you got it on a commercial shoot unless multiple numbers of people got it. How's that going to be handled, or is it going to be handled?
Production companies and community are doing everything they can to help mitigate the risks. That comes with bringing on additional healthcare personnel, people to help sanitize the sets, doing pre and post cleaning with companies that are COVID ready or doing things in a way that aren't just your typical house cleaner. I think that just we're all working together to come up with guidelines that will make everybody feel comfortable and safe. And I think that is just all we can be doing at this point.
So tell me about opening up Canada. You said that British Columbia is kind of ready to go.
They had a good track record through COVID. So they still are able to get into groups of 50, which is pretty remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah. They've done a great job out there on that. Nothing has been shot yet. Things have just slowly started to ease there. So if anybody was to shoot or wanted to shoot in Vancouver, our office is looking at a lot of projects right now and testing the waters with the permit office. Like most markets around the world who says that are open, it is a case-by-case basis. Same thing in Montreal. In Toronto right now, we're likely looking to start engaging on projects in June that will either take place at the end of June or maybe in early July.
When are people talking about foreign travelers being able to enter the country? I would imagine no matter when that is in the near future, there'll be a 14-day quarantine.
It's anybody's guess on when the borders will open, though. The government has not made any indication on when that will happen. Currently, there's a mandatory quarantine for 14 days for anybody entering the country. They are taking that very seriously.
Just want to shift gears a little bit and take advantage of Edie's expertise here. Edie, you were a practicing family therapist before you got involved in this business. Do you have any advice for us who are spending much more time at home?
The greatest strength of all of us, especially in production, is our ability to control the environments we've been in. And this is the first time we've had to lean in to being completely out of control. It has been a huge experience for me in watching leaders of any organization, including my own and many of my contemporaries, those that have managed to bring empathy, understanding, an ability to have a clear vision of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it are the leaders that have come ahead during this period of time. A really therapeutic moment occurred for me on May 8th because my father was a Holocaust survivor that was in Auschwitz. And on May 8th this year was the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the concentration camp. And I thought about those who experienced hunger, need, and confinement and loss during that period of time, and thinking about what we've had to manage here. As Holocaust survivors keep telling us, this is just a drop in the bucket.
People have, as you said, Edie, sacrificed a lot more than we're sacrificing right now. We're all in our homes. We have communication. We have food. What kind of lasting impact do you think an event like this will have on people, especially on children. I think a lot of people are worried about their kids in this.
Our children are going to have an opportunity for the first time to look at their own values of them, families, themselves, what's meaningful, what's important. But I actually think it's going to come out in a way that somehow allows people to reevaluate their lives. And I think people will go back to more basics. And I think this experience of families living together in this way, communicating with each other in this way, reevaluating those important lessons in life, worrying about safety for the first time ever is going to dramatically change people. And I think it's going to be for the better.
What have you learned about yourself in the last 8 weeks that really surprises you?
It's been an interesting ride over the last eight weeks, honestly, to learn how to be empathetic and to help other people get through this because we're all going through this in a different way. Even just dealing with our families and seeing everybody all the time now, and how you need to just take a minute and step back and realize that everyone's going through this in a different way, but we're all going through it together.
Edie Weiss.
I can enjoy quiet. I can enjoy slowing down. I can enjoy small things that I've probably never appreciated as much as I have right now. I love baking now. I'm baking breads. I'm making soups and enjoying the very basic things in my life that I don't think I've taken advantage of for at least 2 decades.
Edie Weiss and Tony DiMarco from Radke Films in Toronto, or somewhere near Toronto, as the case may be. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your information, your feelings, your intuitions, and hope to see you again soon. Take care.